I'm Harrison Graham. We're going to dive into some Bear trade rumors here on today's show. Let's start with an offensive line target, a potential one here. Wyatt Teller of the Cleveland Browns. He has been mentioned as a potential Bears trade target on the internet. So we're going to dive into that possibility here in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you why you should subscribe to the channel. For one, it's 100% free. We publish daily Bears videos, including the latest news, rumors, updates like injuries and everything else surrounding the team on a daily basis. We go live 3 times per week, every Monday, every Thursday, 4 o'clock Central for both of those, and then an hour plus before every single game day to get you ready for kickoff. And we stay live throughout the game on our weekly watch parties. Join the 104,000 plus strong subscribers here on this show. Let's make this the strongest Bears community on YouTube if it isn't already. All right, Wyatt Teller. Could he be an option for Chicago? The veteran guard, 28, 29 years old. He's been mentioned, like I said, as a potential trade target. He is currently on IR, but I talked to our Browns guy. He is expected to return and is eligible to return in Week 8. Sounds like that's a very real possibility, so not a serious injury. And he is in year 3 of a 4-year contract, so you would have him under contract for next year as well, the Chicago Bears would. And look, it's interesting because all of a sudden the last couple of weeks, the Bears' offensive line has played better, but I still think you have to acknowledge, like, okay, when the schedule toughens up, is this O-line going to continue to hold up at this clip? You want that continuity, but at the same time, if you can have an upgrade, you would like to find that. Like, I love what Matt Pryor's doing, but Wyatt Teller historically is a much better player. And the cap implications, if you were to trade for him, well, it's essentially no money this year. It would be less than $2 million. So that is not an issue at all. And his cap hit for next year is only $14.8 million. Like, for a starting guard, a well above average one, that's not a bad price point at all. And if you wanted to give him an extension, you could lower that number for next year. You could also cut him and save a few $1 million if it didn't work out next year. So that would be on the table. I think if you traded for him, you would kind of view it as your Nate Davis replacement. Like, you play him the rest of this year at right guard. He's your starting right guard next year. And then you decide if he's here long term or not, depending on how he plays the rest of this season. But if the Bears find the right offensive line piece to add between now and November 5th's trade deadline, I think that's still something you have to consider. Now, am I happy with how the O-line's played the last few weeks? Yeah, it's clearly getting better. But is it still like a good unit? Like, I think it's gone from this looks pretty bad to average. And averages, you can do a lot worse. NFL has a shortage of good offensive line play, so I'll take average. I'd like to be better than average, though. I'd like to be above average. I'd like to eventually be great. I think Wyatt Teller at least gets you closer to being above average, so I would certainly be open to that, assuming he's healthy and you feel good about him being an upgrade at right guard where he's played throughout his career. You look at the Bears' upcoming schedule, just kind of balancing, okay, how much more evidence for the current offensive line can you find before the trade deadline? Well, you're on bye this week, then you're at Washington, at Arizona. Not juggernauts defensively, but 2 tougher games than what you've probably played recently, especially on the road. And then it's the trade deadline before the Patriots, and then ultimately the schedule really ramps up. So you kind of look at this offensive line right now. You kind of got a couple of weeks. And then if you're Ryan Poles, you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, is this the group I want to go to war with? Not only the starters, but the pieces we have? Or do we want to try to find an upgrade at right guard, potentially at center, maybe even left tackle? I doubt they would do that in the middle of the season, but you never know. You got 2 more games to evaluate the offensive line and determine if this is a good enough group. If they play like they have the last 2 weeks, it probably is. If they don't, and against stiffer competition, it gets tougher, then yeah, you'd like to upgrade if there's a trade out there. Now, I talked to Matthew Peterson, our Browns host. He thinks you could get him for a 6th-round pick. So you almost look at that and you're like, why not, man? I mean, you're going to cut Nate Davis for $9.5 million. He'll be $14.8 next year. You're only spending $5 extra million and a 6th-round pick to have a starting guard for the next year and a half. Kind of feels like pretty good value. Like, at worst, he's an average to above average guard. At his best, he's a really good player. So I would be pretty interested if it's truly just a late day 3 pick. Would you trade a 6th-round pick for Wyatt Teller? Y for yes, N for no. Pen comment on today's video. Let us know during this YouTube ad break. DJ Jones, could he be a trade target for the Bears? He's another defensive tackle added to the list. We've talked about several different guys. I've mentioned adding a depth defensive tackle for low cost could make some sense behind Gervon Dexter and Andrew Billings. ESPN's Dan Graziano mentioned him as a possibility, so we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But you want to go to a Bears game? Want to go check out the Bulls? Lonzo Ball back and healthy. Hopefully it stays that way. Check out Game Time right now, where you can get $20 off with code ChatSports. Once you download the app, create an account, and use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply there. Get off the couch. Go enjoy yourself. Go to games. Go to concerts. Go to other sporting events. Go to comedy shows, etc. Perfect way to go on a date. Maybe you're on the online dating apps and you want to impress him or her, and you go take them to a Bulls game, Blackhawks game. You can find good prices with our friends at Game Time, and if you use the feature Game Time Picks, you're really going to find tickets that are within your price range and in a quick and timely manner. It'll filter out the fluff to show you the best deal on the best seats, so you don't have to scroll through thousands of tickets, which is very, very nice. Whether you're getting tickets for a sporting event, concert, comedy show, or anything else, Game Time has you covered with views from the seats, super deals, which are the best bang for your buck, and last-minute tickets for the lowest price is guaranteed. So, again, download Game Time, use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, look at DJ Jones, PFF grades and stats this year. 64 overall, average, slightly above average. Run defense a little below average. Pass rush above average. Doesn't have a sack, but he's getting some pressures. I kind of look at him, and he's in that category of player we've talked about where wouldn't cost much. He's in the last year of a 3-year, $30 million deal. And trade-wise, it would probably be a late day 3 pick. 6, maybe even a 7th-round pick. And I think he kind of fits the mold of, hey, you want to beef up your 3rd defensive tackle spot? Like right now, you're talking about guys like Chris Williams, Byron Cowart. Zach Pickens has been hurt for weeks now. Even when he's healthy, do you trust him to be that true number 3 guy coming off injury? I'm not sure. I think adding defensive tackle depth makes sense if the right deal is out there. It seems like DJ Jones would fit the bill for that. Now, I doubt this would be a problem because you have the cap space, but his cap hit, if you absorb him, would be over $6 million. So it's not like it's one of these where the way his contract's set up, it's $2 million. It'd be $6.5 million. Depending on how close to the trade deadline, that number could vary a little bit. It was $9 million before the season started, but it gets prorated by week, so it's a little over $6 million right now. But they've got money for that if they want to make it happen. I look at this defensive tackle spot. Like, I feel like if you lose Dexter or Billings, that creates a big hole in the middle. So adding a reliable vet to be that number 3 guy, Shelby Harris, DJ Jones, seems like kind of a no-brainer for the Chicago Bears. All right, what is the bigger need on this team? Offensive line or defensive line? I would say from a starting standpoint, offensive line. From a depth standpoint, I would say defensive line. So it really comes down to how big you want to swing. You want to get a starter? You want to get a backup? You want to get a depth piece? OL, DL, let me know. All right, let's talk Khalil Herbert. I saw FanSided put out some potential trade destinations for him. They mentioned a few teams, and I kind of want to just talk about the ideology, where he's at right now, whether or not it makes sense to trade Khalil Herbert. It's kind of crazy. He's played 16 offensive snaps in 6 games, and in one of those games, he played in 0 snaps. Should the Bears just trade him? Like, I know I've kind of been adamant. Like, if it's just a 6th or a 7th or a late-round pick swap, you'd be better off keeping him in case someone gets hurt. I still feel that to an extent. But, like, this is a guy who I don't think is a starter, at least in a good running back room, but he's a very good number 2. I think the problem is Roschon is a better pass protector and he catches the ball better. And if he's going to be and if Herbert's not a starter, well, Roschon does the other things well, like 3rd down roll, protect, catch the ball, leak out, screen game. Like, Herbert isn't as good at those things. So when you're not a starter, but you're not good at the utility part of the position, you're kind of getting squeezed out. We've seen that play out this year. But he's a capable back, very good runner, especially if you get him in the right system. I'll be curious to see if the Bears get calls because the Niners are banged up at that spot. We don't know what's going on with McCaffrey. Could a team like Dallas come calling? Now, if they keep losing, they might be sellers. Who knows? But I still think there are teams that make sense for Khalil Herbert. But clearly, with the way this is trending, he's He's a free agent after this year. Does anyone right now out there think they're going to re-sign Khalil Herbert? Because I don't. I think next year you've got DeAndre Swift under contract, Roschon Johnson. You probably draft someone on day 3, and that's your top 3. That's probably what you're looking at. So the whole point of Khalil Herbert doesn't really serve a purpose, which is why if you can get a draft pick for him, maybe you just do it. Should the Bears trade Khalil Herbert? What say you? Type T for trade, K for keep. Get your votes in down in the comment section down below. Do you want to trade, or should the Bears trade Khalil Herbert? T for trade, K for keep. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Latest trade rumors here on Chicago Bears Now. If you want more content, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. See you guys soon.